Pride is a weakness masquerading as strength. Have you noticed how truly powerful men rarely talk about their achievements? How they stop to listen to others, while mediocre ones cannot stop talking about themselves? There is a reason for this. True winners do not need to prove anything to anyone. It is a lesson I learned years ago, and today I will reveal why true power lies in what you choose not to say. At the last gala I attended, I observed a man wearing a watch that cost more than many cars. He interrupted every conversation to casually mention his collection of cars, private jet trips, and his celebrity friends. Meanwhile, in the opposite corner of the room, another man wearing an impeccable suit was conversing calmly. Nobody knew, but he owned 3 successful companies and had just closed $1 billion deal. The difference? One was begging for validation. The other already knew his value. Excessive pride is like cheap perfume. The stronger it is, the more it denotes insecurity. And when you brag, you are sending a clear message. I do not trust that my accomplishments speak for themselves. This is not just weak, it is repulsive to truly sophisticated people. The truly successful understand something profound. Those who know their worth never feel compelled to convince others of it. They move through the world with quiet certainty, allowing their actions to create ripples of respect around them. When Brad Pitt walks into a room, he does not need to announce his $1 million fee or list his films. His presence communicates everything. This is how true power manifests, in the absence of need for external validation. Think about ancient texts that discuss vanity as a capital sin. It is not just religious morality, it is pure psychology. The man who needs to brag is trying to compensate for something. Perhaps that is why in the most prestigious corporations in the world, true leaders are known for their attentive listening, not for their self-promoted monologues. In ancient Sparta, soldiers were taught to speak little but act decisively. In imperial Japan, the samurai understood that excessive talk diminished their honor. Throughout history, the pattern is clear. Cultures that value power also value restraint. There is wisdom in this tradition that modern men have forgotten. A true gentleman lets his actions speak for themselves. His knowledge, his character, even his wealth, none of this needs to be announced. It is like that old saying, real power is silent. When you examine the lives of history's most fascinating men, you will notice they all share this quality. They never diminish their gravitas by seeking validation. Their strength was implicit in their bearing, their decisions, their unwavering confidence. They understood that power is not granted through declaration. It is earned through consistent demonstration of capability and character. And have you noticed how great businessmen like Warren Buffett live in a relatively modest way, considering their monumental fortunes? While nouveau riche cannot stop posting photos of jet skis and champagne on social media, who really has something to prove? Silent elegance always communicates more power than any self-centered speech. This reminds me of a scene from one of my favorite series where the protagonist, an extraordinarily successful lawyer, is grilled by a rival about his accomplishments. Instead of listing victories, he simply smiles and says, "If you needed to ask, you would already have your answer." This moment perfectly captures the essence of refined power. Consider how this approach transforms every interaction. When someone challenges you, questioning your credentials or achievements, resist the urge to defend yourself with a laundry list of accomplishments. Instead, maintain composed eye contact, perhaps offer a knowing smile, and respond with measured confidence. This communicates that you operate beyond the petty game of credential comparison. It places you instantly above the fray, establishing psychological dominance without a single word of self-promotion. This is not just about modesty, it is strategy. When you keep your achievements guarded, you create an aura of mystery. People talk about you when you are not present. That is genuine influence. It is not who shouts the loudest who has the most power. It is the one about whom everyone whispers, "Do you know who he is?" I made this mistake in the past. In the early years of my career, each promotion was announced, each raise was casually mentioned at dinners. I was like that annoying guy on Instagram who photographs his car dashboard to show the speed, desperate for approval. But then I realized, the more I talked about myself, the less really important people wanted to listen to me. This is the paradox of power. Those who truly possess it rarely need to display it. It is like elegance in a suit. If you need to explain why it is elegant, you have already lost the argument. The truly sophisticated man knows when to keep silent. He understands that power is not in displaying knowledge, but in knowing when to apply it. It is not in showing wealth, but in using it strategically. And it certainly is not in talking about himself, but in creating a reputation that speaks for him. This reminds me of another story. Years ago, I attended a dinner with two businessmen. The first talked incessantly about his investments, his properties, his infallible strategy. The second just listened, occasionally asking insightful questions. I later discovered that the talker had a small consulting company, while the silent one was one of the biggest investors on the West Coast. Do you see the pattern? When you brag, you're effectively communicating, "I have not yet arrived where I want to be." It is like that saying, "The dog that barks does not bite." True predators are silent until the decisive moment. Here is a question for you. When was the last time you bragged about something? When was the last time you felt the need for validation? If it was recently, perhaps it is time for reflection. Think about it. Who do you admire most? I bet it is not the man who cannot stop talking about his own achievements. Every powerful man I have met shares this quality. They let their reputation precede them. They do not need to announce themselves. Others do it for them. When you enter the game of pride and self-display, you are already playing at the level of the mediocre. The extraordinary have a completely different playing field. Observe how true aristocrats and traditionally influential families educate their children. Never talk about money. It is not just a matter of etiquette, it is a power strategy. The less you reveal, the more people fill in the gaps with their own assumptions, usually favorable ones. Remember, wolves do not need to say they are dangerous. True leaders do not need to announce they are leaders. And truly powerful and elegant men do not need to brag. Instead of talking about your accomplishments, ask questions. Find out what motivates others. This not only makes you more interesting, it creates alliances. While others are busy trying to impress, you will be collecting valuable information. You will know who your allies and enemies are long before they realize the game being played. The next time you feel tempted to mention your new car, your watch, or your promotion, ask yourself, why do I need them to know this? What am I trying to prove? The answer usually reveals an insecurity you need to face. The problem with pride is that it creates targets. The more you brag, the more people wish to see you fall. It is a fundamental law of human society. Nobody roots for the braggart. Everyone celebrates when he fails. Do not give that pleasure to your enemies. There is an enormous difference between confidence and arrogance. Confidence does not need an audience. Arrogance dies without one. And when you understand this, something magical happens. People begin to notice your presence in ways you never imagined. I have seen rooms full of people gravitate toward the quiet man in the corner who speaks only when he has something valuable to contribute. I have watched as corporate boards defer to the executive who listens more than he speaks. The C pattern is undeniable. Genuine authority attracts attention without demanding it. This is the paradox that insecure men never understand. The less you grasp for recognition, the more naturally it comes to you. A truly powerful man understands that silence is a tool, learning not to say everything you know, not to display every achievement, not to reveal every strategy. This is what separates players from masters of the game. When you master this skill, you realize a truth that few understand. Real power is not in what you display, but in what you keep reserved. It is not about hiding achievements, it is about understanding that they speak for themselves. Have you noticed how some men enter a room and immediately command attention without saying a word? It is not coincidence, it is the result of cultivating real power, not just its superficial symbols. This is the ultimate test. If tomorrow you lost everything, money, status, possessions, would you still behave with the same dignity? Would you still have the same presence? If the answer is yes, you have understood what it truly means to be powerful. If it is no, you are still confusing symbols of power with power itself. Even the ancient Stoics knew this. Marcus Aurelius, Emperor of Rome, and one of the most powerful men who ever lived, wrote in his diary that silence is the source of great strength. He could order executions with a gesture, but understood that true authority came from his conduct, not his titles. Think of every truly influential man in history. They did not need to announce their power. Their actions created waves that others felt. It is like that famous phrase, "Speak softly and carry a big stick." True masculine power is like gravitation, invisible, but unquestionably present and impossible to ignore. You do not need to see gravitation to feel its effects. Likewise, you do not need to announce your value for others to perceive it. This reminds me of an ancient proverb. The empty vessel makes the most noise. Think about this the next time you hear someone talking incessantly about their achievements. What are they compensating for? What emptiness are they trying to fill? And here is a secret that few men know. When you stop bragging, you begin to be seen as someone who has nothing to prove. This is incredibly attractive, both in business and in personal relationships. People are naturally drawn to those who seem complete in themselves. There is a magnetic quality to a man who requires no external validation. In negotiation, this creates immeasurable leverage. In leadership, it inspires unwavering loyalty. In social settings, it generates intrigue. Watch how people respond differently when you stop seeking their approval. Notice how they begin competing for your attention rather than the reverse. This is not manipulation. It is simply the natural order reasserting itself when you align with authentic power. The truly sophisticated man understands that elegance is not about exhibitionism. It is about restraint. It is not about showing everything you have. It is about revealing just enough to intrigue. It is like a well-made suit. Its value is in the precision of the cut, not the price on the label. Let others brag. Let them waste energy trying to prove their worth. You are too busy building your empire, perfecting your skills, expanding your knowledge. Recognition will come, and when it does, it will be genuine, not manufactured. And do you know what is most ironic? The less you talk about your achievements, the more people tend to exaggerate them. Mystery creates speculation. Speculation often works in your favor. That is why the most influential men are often the most discreet about their accomplishments. Look, I am not suggesting you hide your abilities. Using your expertise when necessary is not bragging. Solving problems is not bragging. Leading when others hesitate is not bragging. The difference lies in the intention. Are you doing it to contribute or to be admired? Think about great business leaders. The truly respected ones are rarely those who appear most in the media boasting. They are those who consistently deliver results, who develop other leaders, who create real value. Their reputation is built on actions, not words. And if you are still at the beginning of your journey without many achievements to display, Perfect. This is the ideal time to develop this habit. Focus on learning, growing, and contributing. Recognition will come naturally, and when it does, receive it with grace, not with fanfare. Remember, truly influential men do not require constant validation. They do not need to be the center of attention. They understand that power is not about domination, but about impact. And the deepest impact often comes from what you choose not to say. Perhaps the greatest indicator of real security is the ability to sincerely praise others. The insecure fear giving credit to others. The truly confident know that recognizing excellence in others does not diminish their own. This is the path of the elegant man, the influential man, the man who leaves a mark on the world without needing to announce his presence at every step. It is the path I have chosen to follow, and I invite you to do the same. True power is not in bragging about past victories, but in silently preparing for the next ones. It is not in displaying status symbols, but in cultivating real substance. And it certainly is not in talking about who you are, but in demonstrating your character through your daily actions. Wealth, status, and power are like perfume. Better when subtly detected, not when rubbed in the faces of others. Even the richest and most influential people in the world know this. Study the habits of old money families, and you will discover an unwritten code. They speak of their accomplishments only when directly asked. They display their wealth through quality rather than ostentation. They treat service staff with the same respect as business partners. These are not arbitrary rules of etiquette. They are sophisticated power strategies refined over generations. The truly elite understand that broadcasting success cheapens it, while dignified restraint elevates it to something almost mythical in the minds of others. The next time you feel the urge to mention your latest achievement, stop, breathe. Ask someone about their life instead. Listen with genuine interest, and observe how this simple change completely transforms your social dynamics. Before we finish, I would like to leave a final reflection. True power is calmly knowing who you are, without the need to convince anyone. It is authentic confidence, not empty bravado. It is substance over appearance. And that, my friend, is something no one can take away from you. Even in your darkest hour, when all external trappings of success might be stripped away, this internal certainty remains. It becomes your bedrock in challenging times, your compass when others lose their way, and ultimately, the legacy you leave behind. The world is filled with men desperately trying to prove their worth through possessions, titles, and accomplishments. Rise above this struggle. Become the man who knows his value so deeply that it requires no advertisement, who moves through the world with such natural authority that others cannot help but recognize it. If you want to thrive in a world where everyone competes for attention, learn to master the art of strategic silence. Let your excellence speak for itself. Cultivate reputation, not notoriety. The difference may seem subtle, but the impact is monumental. I learned this lesson the hard way, and now I am sharing it with you so you do not have to make the same mistakes. Because the elegant man not only masters the art of dressing well, he masters the art of presenting himself with dignity in all situations. If this content is transforming your vision of masculine elegance, subscribe now to the channel, activate the notification bell, and leave your like. Your transformation into a truly elegant and powerful man begins with decisions like this, small steps that lead to big changes. What did we learn today? That true power does not need to announce itself. That genuine elegance is subtle, not ostentatious. That truly influential men let their achievements speak for themselves, and that the way you present yourself to the world, not just in appearance but in conduct, determines how you will be treated. Silent power. Comment if this video impacted your vision of masculine elegance.